You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Here with reaction tonight, we welcome back to the program former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe Digenova, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. All right, Joe, it's a lot to absorb, a lot of information, but it's so telling and sad that this could happen in the United States of America. Give us your general takeaways from the new information today.
This is now piling on in a very big way. We are headed toward a very sad ending for the FBI and senior DOJ officials. McCabe is gone because Wray knows what's in the other emails and the other text. McCabe was sent packing as a result of Christopher Wray being briefed by a number of people who have access to the investigation that's underway, which is going to lead to criminal charges against a number of people. What you are seeing coming out now in the text messages is just the minimum of what is available now to DOJ officials as they watch, sadly.
Who do you think is going to get charged, Joe? I don't mean to interrupt, but who are we talking about?
I believe that several high FBI officials will be charged criminally, and it is conceivable that some DOJ people will also be charged criminally.
What about James Comey?
I can't answer that question because too much of the information about Comey is filtered through other people. It is clear, though, that at the time prior to the election and subsequent to the election, there were a group of people inside the FBI at the senior levels on the 7th floor who decided that they were going to protect Hillary Clinton. They were going to change 302s, and they were going to make sure that she was
testimonies. Explain.
They were going to change 302 interview notes. They were going to exonerate Hillary, and they were going to frame Donald Trump. It is inescapable, no matter what all these people are saying at the New York Times and the Washington Post with their silly editorials. They are missing one of the great corruption stories of American law enforcement, and sad to say, it involves the senior levels of the FBI, and it is a national disgrace.
One of or the biggest?
I would consider this the largest law enforcement scandal in history for this reason. The activities of McCabe and others, and Bruce Orr and others, were designed to subvert the Constitution and a national election, the most serious offense under our Constitution.
Gregg Jarrett, let's start with the new struck page text that we have out today. And we're still missing the 5 crucial months, although they have been recovered. We have a lot more coming. There's 50,000 in total. So with each new revelation, it gets worse and worse for them.
It surely does. And one can bicker about the meaning of some of the vagueness in these text messages. But it's abundantly clear, and today's messages just reinforced it, that there was such extreme political bias on the part of Strzok and Page and personal animus toward Donald Trump, the candidate, and then the president, that these two people should have been nowhere near the investigation. And, you know, some people have said, and I've watched them on other programs, said, well, when Mueller found out, he fired Strzok. Well, he was on the Hillary Clinton case, the lead investigator. Then he jumped to the Trump-Russia case. Then he jumped to the Mueller case. So for 2 years, how much damage did he do before he was caught?
You know, let me ask you about this. And the House Intel has requested the judge to provide the FISA transcript hearings. Greg, I want to talk about the legality of all of this, because we do know that Lindsey Graham and Senator Grassley, they got a chance to look at all 4 FISA applications. That was sort of like a footnote nobody paid attention to last night with the unredacted memo that they had. As it relates to the intel, I would think that if we ever got a hold of the FISA Corp, considering they're saying the bulk of information to allow this to go forward was based on this phony Hillary Clinton paid for Russian government dossier, I can only and they withheld all this information from the court. I've got to believe that court judge has got to be livid and furious tonight.
Yeah, this is the letter that Devin Nunes has sent today to the presiding judge of the FISA court, requesting not one but 4 different hearings and any transcripts to determine the false misrepresentations of fact that were made, allegedly, by the Department of Justice and the FBI during those hearings. I mean, if you just look at the Grassley-Graham letter, it lays out a meticulous case of how the court was misled, deceived, evidence was concealed, but it may be even worse in those transcripts. Leon Panetta was wrong when he said, well, the Intel Committee didn't even interview the judges. I got news for them. They have no authority to do that, but they do have authority, as witnessed by this letter today, to get their hands on the transcripts of the hearings before those FISA judges.
Let me go to Tom Fitton. Tom, in this whole issue of Barack Obama wants to be kept abreast of all of this, and Strzok and Page are preparing what appears to be talking points for President Obama. Wall Street Journal says it was not about the email investigation, but from earlier comments that I saw that you made, you have your doubts about that.
Yeah, well, you pick. It's either about the email investigation or the Russia investigation. Either way, you see President Obama being intensely involved and wanting to know everything about either the Clinton email investigation or Russia investigation. Pick your poison in terms of presidential involvement in these sensitive criminal investigations. Now, I've always wondered why President Obama has skated really free from any serious inquiries about his involvement in the Russia investigations, his knowledge about the dossier, its origins. Remember, he's a politician too, was running the DNC in part. Did he know about the payments of the DNC and Hillary Clinton and the dossier's use in the Russia investigations and the FISA applications? Did he know about the dossier's use, I would think, to justify unmaskings? These are questions that have to be asked of President Obama. This president is being criminally investigated about his communications with the FBI director about a criminal investigation. Why isn't there similar inquiries into what President Obama was doing?
What about Joe Digenova? There seems to be some complicity here. Now, if things weren't bad enough that Hillary's paying for Russian, read from the Grassley-Graham memo, Russian government information to be used in an election to lie to the American people, then used as the bulk of information for a FISA warrant, none of it verified. If that's not bad enough, now we have the information. It looks like Sid Vicious Blumenthal and people at the Department of State are complicit in steals some of this phony information that he then coordinates with the Clinton campaign to disseminate to the lazy, overpaid so-called journalists in the media in this country.
Well, here's the most important thing about all of this. This shows that the FBI was bootstrapping all of the information that it was getting, and it was basically a circular firing squad, so that all the information was based on the same information, and that therefore nothing that was being presented to the FISA court was actually verifiable. And let me just say something about Leon Panetta. I saw his comments this weekend where he condemned Chairman Nunes for politicizing intelligence. What a disgraceful comment by a former CIA director. Leon Panetta should be ashamed of himself. He's obviously not reading the papers. What's more, he obviously has not read the April 26, 2017 opinion of the FISA court, in which they accused the FBI of purposely and illegally and unconstitutionally leaking FISA 702 information to private contractors, which is a felony. You've never heard Mr. Panetta say anything about that. You've never heard Mr. Panetta say anything about any of the conduct of John Brennan, the single most political CIA director in history. And Brennan's comments this weekend about all of the stuff that Nunes is doing rank among the most disgusting political comments by any former CIA director in history.
Wow. I want to know Brennan and Clapper. I want to know about the surveillance, unmasking, leaking intelligence and their potential understanding and knowledge of that. We'll find out in weeks and months ahead.